a rash.
No, they're infectious.
Infectious, but good.
Cancer.
Very good. Cancer, there's several of them.
Diabetes.
Diabetes? Yes. Cancer.
Bronchitis.
No, that would be infectious.
Kidney stones.
That's more of a probably a disease. I'm trying to think along the right lines, but okay, so cancer, you can't catch cancer, right? So that means it's not infectious. You can't catch diabetes. Either you have it or you don't, or you. And then one more, one really important one. A lot of people die from
Cancer.
heart disease. That's not heart disease. There you go. Good job. So it's amazing to me here in our country, these are the four most common risk factors for our diseases that we have, but they can all be prevented. One of them is tobacco use, unhealthy diets, physical inactivity, harmful use of alcohol, as well as having high blood pressure and high cholesterol. These diseases kill more people worldwide than any other infectious disease. Okay, 35 million people die from non-infectious diseases each year. Nearly a third of those deaths occur before age 60. Okay, I know that sounds old to you guys, but really age 60 is not that old. So now I'm going to ask you, see if you were listening to anything I just said. Is there any way we can prevent these diseases? What can we do to maybe help prevent some of those diseases?
By not turning the bathroom and by losing weight.
That's two. Anything else? Anybody else get anything out of that? So physical activity, right? Exercise. Okay. Obviously, refraining from the alcohol and tobacco use. And then our diets. Our diets are a big part. Here in the U.S., we really have some issues with our diets. What we intake in our diets really affect us. Okay, so that's a little bit about those, about the non-infectious. Now we're going to go into the infectious stuff, which I really like. So there's going to be some kind of gross things we may talk about. I'm probably going to hand out some pictures. Some of you may think it's gross. Just don't look at them if you don't like it. Okay. Causes of infectious disease. Anybody think of one of those? What one of those might be? A cause of an infectious disease.
Like, what?
Wait, a cause.
Cause of something?
Of infectious disease.
There you go. I heard it. Somebody said virus, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. So we're going to talk about all four of those. I'm going to break that down, okay? Some of these organisms actually live on our bodies. Like we have some bacteria and some fungus actually live on our bodies. That is kind of gross to think about it. But it's normal to have that. And then we have some bacteria that lives in our intestines that helps us digest food. But if any of that gets messed up, for some reason you get a sore on your skin or you get a virus that kind of messes up the bacteria in your intestines, you can get really sick. So how do we get these infectious diseases? Several different ways you can get them. Person to person, obviously, we transmit things back and forth. You can get them from bites, like from ticks, from insects, animals even. They can be acquired from contaminated food or water sources. We're lucky here in the U.S. we don't have a lot of that, but occasionally if we don't cook our food all the way, we can get something that way. But a lot of the third world countries have more issues with that. And signs and symptoms will vary. Depends on what you get infected with, okay? You can have fever, you can have fatigue, which is being really tired, respiratory symptoms, or you can have gastrointestinal, everybody kind of know what that is, like diarrhea, vomiting, that kind of stuff. Or rashes or sores. A lot of times there is medication for it. There's like antibiotics, antivirals. Sometimes you have to wind up being hospitalized, those kinds of things. And then, so anyway, we're going to go ahead and break all that down. The first one is we're going to talk about is fungus, okay? Fungus is in our environment. It can be it's in soil and plants and different things like that. Sometimes we even eat fungus, like mushrooms is considered a fungus. Most of the time it's not dangerous, but there are some times when it can be. And we actually use fungus to make good things too, like antibiotics and bread, and then there's some wine, just different things that the fungus actually helps. But it can be harmful. Depending on the type of infection and location of the body that you're exposed to it, you can get mild respiratory symptoms or you can actually get a major illness. So one of the major illnesses, we're just going to touch on a few different things just today because there's way too many to cover it all. But is this right here? Anybody say this word right here?
Cryoptosis.
Methicillin.
No, this one right here.
Oh. Cryptococcus
Good
fungi.
job. Good job. Cryptococcus fungi is actually a fungus, obviously, that's found in soil. And what happens is, you're really not going to see this here in the U.S. much unless you travel out of the U.S. to like Africa. That's the most common place you're going to see this. And what happens is they get work with things that have dirt on it and get the eggs, and then they wind up ingesting it, and then you wind up getting this fungus. Well, a normal person, like we could all probably get it and be fine. But in Africa, what's the number one disease that they have there that people die from?
The plague.
HIV. Okay, everybody know what that is? AIDS, HIV, everybody's probably heard that before. Okay, so what that does, HIV itself weakens your immune system, and so you can't fight off normal things like you were right there with a healthy immune system. And so, unfortunately, in Africa, because they don't have the health services that we have here in the U.S., is a lot of times children, adults, anyone who has the HIV virus will wind up getting exposed to this fungus and they get really ill. And if it's not found early on, they wind up getting a meningitis. Anybody know what a meningitis is? Okay. You have meninges, you guys are going to learn all this too, I'm sure. But anyway, where it gets into like your neurosystem. So like it can get into the meninges in your spine and in your brain and you get really sick, obviously. Okay. And so what they're trying to do with this, to try and keep this fungus from killing so many people, because right now it is the #1 cause of death in Africa to those living with HIV. So what they're trying to do is get a test that they'll be able to find out someone has this before it gets into the meningitis and get it treated. Of course, again, there you worry about not having the proper medications and all that, but if they can catch it early on, then hopefully they can prevent it from becoming meningitis. So, but then there's a fungus that you guys are you guys are all exposed to around here from time to time, especially you athletes. You might know what I might be talking about.
Foot fungus.
Right. What we call athlete's foot. So I'm going to pass around some pictures. I'll start here and then one over there and then you guys just kind of pass it across. This is like in the beginning of athlete's foot. This one here is when you don't treat your athlete's foot, what happens, okay? So this is why it's important to treat your athlete's foot. And your athlete's foot can be treated with just basically an antifungal health. And there's some ways to prevent it too. If you wear shoes, like when you take a public shower and out in public somewhere, like in the locker room or whatever, wear a flip-flop or some type of shoe. When you are playing your sports, whatever, try it and wear shoes that breathe. And washing your feet daily with soap and water helps. And then drying them real well, and even using a foot powder will also help with that. Kind of red, scaly, I mean, you'll see kind of what it's like on that one. And that's when you want to start treating, obviously, when it's gross like that one, then it's a red velvet. So, can anybody tell me one way to prevent athlete's foot? Y'all still listening? Anybody can tell me how to prevent athlete's foot?
Don't share shoes with people.
That's a good one. Perfect.
Don't share socks.
That's right. All those things help keep your feet dry and will keep that fungus from growing. The other thing we're going to talk about next, that was fungus. Now we're going to parasites. Parasites are really cool, interesting, and kind of disgusting. Does anybody know what a parasite does? A parasite actually lives in us, like she uses us as their host, they would call it, to basically survive. So basically will eat somehow, in some way, depending on what the parasite is, off of your body, okay? So, and then there's some that are microscopic, you can't see them, and there's some that you can see. So I'm going to pass these around. Now, these are kind of gross, once again. And these are, and we'll talk about what these are in a minute. We're going to talk about parasites. So I'm going to start passing these around, and you can kind of see these two. It's the same thing. It's a bottom line infection. And these two, the same thing, they're round arms that we're going to talk about. So like I said, some of them you can see and some of them you can't. I know it's kind of gross. For a microscopic one, for an example of what happened was, one time I was out rock climbing.
Right,
And it had
if you
rained.
can't handle the pictures, we will not pass them around.
Yeah. I was out rock climbing and it had rained, and so my rope went through the puddles. Went through the puddles, and then I went ahead and obviously put my hands on the rope to climb, and then when we stopped to eat lunch, there was a way to wash my hands, right? So I really didn't think much of it, ate my lunch, went on my day, finished up rock climbing, went back to Missouri, and about a week later though, I started getting really sick, had major stomach issues, okay? We're talking like the worst stomach flu virus you could possibly ever have, but it wasn't a virus, I found out later. Anyway, started having major diarrhea, major vomiting, major stomach aches, and what it was I had, when I went to the doctor, they did a test, and I basically had some type of protozoa, they would call it, microscopic parasite that was living inside me. So I had to take medications for that. Also, this picture here, another example of one, the worm one, well, not that one, but there's a worm one going around. It shows a bunch of worms and then another little worm rolled up like that. Those are called roundworms, and people actually get infected with those too. It's usually more in the tropical areas. They'll get that from the soil, same thing, kind of like you get the eggs, you ingest it, and then they wind up growing inside you. And does anyone know how big they can get?
12 inches.
They can. They start out at 1 millimeter and go all the way up to 39 and a half right here.
What?
39.3. Can you imagine this living inside you? It's kind of disgusting to think about, isn't it? I actually witnessed one of those. I didn't really think much of it because here in the U.S. once again we don't have a whole lot of knowledge.
We need to be quiet.
But I had a baby in my doctor's office I was working at that time come in, and mom was saying that they've been having some major issues, and they thought that it had some worms in its diaper. And so here in the U.S., we're more used to like little bitty tiny pinworms that are right in it. So I was thinking that's what I was running into. And so I opened this diaper, and I see this long worm rounded up in there, and so it was really disgusting. Total shocker, not what you would think. It was in a baby's diaper in the doctor's office I worked in. Mom said that the baby had worms, but I was thinking, oh yeah, just little worms, like things you get little. Yeah, but it was actual worm, like a large one. That's in the picture. So yeah, it was quite a surprise, obviously. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about are viruses and bacteria, which you guys are exposed to every day of your life. Okay, these are the things you're really going to see here and get here, unfortunately. They can be as simple as like, a cold, a stomach flu, or anything like that. But you get these by contact with other people, touching contaminated surfaces, food, and animals, and all that kind of stuff, like we talked about earlier. There's so many ways to get it. So let's start with bacteria. Some bacteria, like I said, is helpful. Some are not. But one of the things about bacteria is that obviously it's infectious, and so other people can get it from you, or you can get it from other people. So it's always good to wash your hands and use good hygiene and all times when you go to eat. But you guys have probably heard about a bacteria called MRSA or MRSA. Have you heard that before? Maybe you had it before. Yeah, you don't have to tell me if you have, but maybe you have. And it's what's up here on this board right here. We're going to talk about this bacteria because it's pretty common. We see it quite a bit at the high school because we have kids doing all kinds of sports and sharing all kinds of things. So I want y'all to kind of be aware of it. But let's see. Pedro, can you say that?
No, I can't.
Hey, let's go.
Methicillin. Methicillin.
There you go. Good job. Okay, you like to say this word?
Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus.
Okay, I know it's there's a lot of stuff to say here. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, okay? Known as MRSA or MRSA. And so, this is one that you get like in wounds, like if you, I don't know, wind up getting a scratch or something, like wrestling for a good example. And you notice it starting getting more red and swollen and maybe getting some pus kind of draining kind of stuff. That's when you need to definitely go and see someone, okay? Don't wait till it gets really big and you have more issues because it can actually get into your bloodstream and you get very, very ill from it. So it's one of those things, if you start noticing, you can get it from a bite too, anything on your skin. Like I said, once again, you have normal bacteria that lives there, but once you get that open wound, you can get anything can happen there. And so we always want to keep those covered, obviously, if you have that. Wash your hands after you, mess with it or anything like that. And then it requires antibiotics for it to go away. It's not going to go away without major antibiotics. And the reason why it's called resistant is unfortunately because it's so common and so many people have gotten it in this area that it's become resistant to a lot of antibiotics. And so it's very important to let it go without being treated. But there is some prevention, obviously, for that. And so we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. I am going to have you guys take this quiz with me to see if you're listening at all, okay, about MRSA. Y'all think you're ready for this?
Yeah.
MRSA describes a specific type of bacteria that's resistant to certain antibiotics. True or false?
True.
True. Oh.
True.
True on that one.
True.
It says yes. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus
I'm
Wanna
saying
go with
red.
rat?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It's red.
I don't think it's rat. No. It's known as a superbug. They call it a superbug because obviously they super medication. They're most likely found in the air in hospitals.
I can't see.
In the air or in the hospital?
In the air.
Hospital.
Air.
Yes. The reason why it's hospitals is because what happens in hospitals? Obviously, lots of
Surgery.
lots of germs, lots of procedures with the bacteria. If you have, an IV, or if you have a surgery, anything like that, you're on those moves. Some of us carry MRSA bacteria in our mouths, noses, eyes, or throats. I didn't tell you this, but this is good for you guys to guess. So,
Eyes.
I'm saying noses.
good answer. I'm gonna go with nose. The reason why? Because it's a good little place where it likes to live and doesn't cause us any symptoms, but we can sure have to see if we're right. Yep. 25-30% have it in our noses. Especially if you work in a hospital or in a nursing home where there's lots of people, lots of bacteria, you can definitely be a carrier, but you don't always get sick from it. What's the best defense? We talked about this.
Vaccination. All the above. All the above.
Everybody agree with that?
No.
I don't think we talked about a vaccine. If there was a vaccine, that'd be awesome, right?
Good hygiene.
No vaccine.
You need a good
Good
hygiene.
hygiene. Let's try that. Oh, good job. The best defense is good hygiene. We're almost done. Hang in there. MRSA often everybody gets droplets from coughing or sneezing. True or false?
True.
Oh boy, I know. And there's somebody through an open wound. Remember we talked about that, direct contact and how the bacteria. It can cause sepsis, which is an infection of the blood. True or false? Very good.
And you got
Okay, the MRSA skin infection can often mimic a cut, strain, spider bite, or sty. Talk about this briefly.
Cut. No. Spider bite, spider bite.
There you go. I think that's it. Yep. It often appears as a skin infection like a boil or abscess. When it gets kind of swollen up, looks like a bite, and then it winds up turning injury. MRSA infection can cause complications such as flesh-eating disease, pneumonia, death, or all of the above. What do y'all think?
all of the above. All the
That's a
above.
good job. Our last one, skin condition is cellulitis, which is basically a redness infection of the skin. Can be caused by MRSA or by other bacterial types. True or false? True. Good job. Okay, now the difference with bacteria and viruses is viruses often you can't treat them. Like with bacteria, you can treat them with antibiotics. Viruses, often you can't. They have to kind of run their course. There are some new medications called antivirals that they're starting to use, but you still have to take that at the beginning of it, like say with the influenza. Everybody know what the influenza is? It's the flu, right. What's the flu symptoms? Everybody knows what it is.
Coughing.
Right.
Red nose.
You guys are great, you know, some adults don't realize this. The influenza is actually a respiratory illness, you know, I can turn into other things, but it is not a stomach virus. Some people think that that's something to it. It's not. But yes, and so they have some antivirals that they're starting to use for that, but you have to start it early on or it won't even help with that virus. So, but that's the difference there. So influenza is a virus. You might think of another virus you might get often.
Chicken pox.
No.
Not what I'm thinking of. Yes, the common cold is a virus. And we all know what that, there's things you can take to make you feel better, but you can't make it go away overnight, unfortunately, right? You have to kind of let it course. So now I'm going to ask you guys one more thing here. Let's see how well you're listening today. What is the number one way we can prevent from getting ill?
Wash your hands.
Right. We all need to wash our hands. Can anyone tell me what this number is right here?
No.
I don't know. 1,000.
A million. More, a billion.
1 billion.
1 billion.
I can't even see them.
Couple
1
trillion.
trillion. See this paperclip? Everybody knows how much a paperclip weighs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is this heavy? No. Yeah, it's like holding nothing, right? All right. So 1 trillion germs can live in 1 gram of poop. All right. So when you go to the bathroom, yeah, I have people in my office that try and leave sometimes without washing their hands. Kids, I will stop you, by the way. So it's very important to wash your hands, not just after going to the bathroom, before you eat. You know, if you've been around somebody who's been sick, you touch things on surfaces, computers, whatever, be sure you're washing your hands. That's the number one thing to prevent almost everything that we've talked about today. Okay, is washing your hands. Even if you're out playing in the dirt, wash your hands, all of them. Okay, so who thinks they have really clean hands today?
No, I'm
Me.
good. You probably have.
Come on out.
I want to see what mine looks
We're gonna see how clean your hands are. No, you can't do it, that's cheating.
Oh, you have to. Hey, Caleb.
Rub them in, look at rub around this.
really good.
What's your name? Levi, what's your name?
Hey, Caleb, your hands are clean up.
Whatever. I know, it's like
I had to do this and my hands were.
Oh, boy. You can still see them all around.
Hot, hot, stay, we will make it happen.